Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Good morning, Brockton Bay.
Good morning, Brockton Bay.
No.
Man, it's flooded.
Oh man.
Before we get started, unfortunately, we have some sad news. Taylor and Kat are no longer going to be participating in our Brockton Bay Book Club. Basically, they got too busy. This is a very, long, time-consuming, I'd say, thing. And, we're really sad that they're not going to be part of this, but rest assured, it's all going to be fine. Nick and Hannah, I think you'd say you've already said a couple times how much you don't really remember anyways.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember anything.
Like a goldfish. There ain't nothing up there.
Basically our first time readers.
Yeah.
We've read pretty much everything I remember at this point.
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
I have no memory of this place.
Worm is such a daunting read. I mean, we talked about it's essentially like 30 standard novels of reading,
Yeah.
It's a bit, and it's we've all got lives to lead. And sometimes you just can't get to everything. But
Indeed.
No hard feelings. We love them both.
Yeah, but due to prior commitments, such as joining the Slaughterhouse 9, Taylor
yes.
and Kat will be no longer able to join.
Don't put those lies out there on the internet.
From the flooding, of Brockton Bay, they lost power.
Yeah, they had to relocate. Yep.
And
Taylor just walked right up to Shatterbird and said, "Shatterbird, these nuts," and that was the
What?
That'll do it every time.
They are already missed.
No, he walked up to Alan and said, "Mannequin, lick these balls."
Mannequin, lick these balls. That's pretty good.
What?
That was good. That was fast. I liked it.
What?
Got sent to the birdcage.
Jackass, am I right?
Oh dear.
Yeah, so
I'll bone your
that's
soul.
the sad news.
Oh.
It's a child, Nick.
Oh no.
Shout out to them in the comments. Show some love in the comments for our fallen readers. And
Fallen heroes.
they're already, Taylor's last words. You should go listen to what they were. End of Arc 9. Legendary last words. That's all we can say.
But ultimately, the goal is to have fun reading Worm as friends. And so we're going to keep doing that. And it's going to be great. I'm having a blast.
Indeed.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you better not leave, Nick, please. All right, Jacob, take us away.
Welcome back, everybody, for Arc 10 of the Brockton Bay Book Club. As always, myself, Jacob, and joined by a lovely cast of characters today. Alan, Hannah, and Nick, as well as Michael, as always, behind the scenes for us. Welcome to all of you.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go. A little tired.
Hello.
Getting warmed
going.
up. Getting warmed up
Yeah.
here.
We gotta get do the little stretches, do the little neck stretches, whatever it takes. All right, jumping into Arc 10, kicking off our return to Taylor's POV, following our lovely little side quest with the wards in the last arc, and we got some fun stuff to talk about, and some not fun stuff to talk about. There's a lot in this arc that I forgot about until we got there, and we'll get there. So let's dive in. I think this is a good arc, and you guys can correct me if you think we've got a better route. But I think it feels like in this arc the chapters really are kind of contained, like going chapter by chapter here. So we probably could just go down the list, and the interludes as well are like post everything. So I think we can just kind of do those at the end, if that.
Yeah. I think that makes
works.
the most sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, Hannah, do you want to kick us off with the first chapter?
So, chapter 1, we open with the Undersiders bunkering down in an abandoned building as Regent ties Shadowstalker to a chair with electrical cables, which is delightful. And he takes over, really, which is something we did not know he could do.
Nope. But glad he can do more than make people trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. This feels very much like, when you enter season 2 of any show or anything like that, you got to have the upgrades. You got to have outfit upgrades. You got to have power upgrades. It's all the upgrades. You got to have base upgrades. You got to have all the things.
Yeah, exactly. But also,
Although this
so
apparently was
trippy.
something he could always do, though.
Yeah.
He just hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, he just hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
That's
holding
cool.
back on
That's
us.
cool.
And it's the upgrades for the viewer, the reader.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, and not to get ahead of the chapters too, but I thought it was interesting because I think it's a couple chapters from now where Weld is like, or I don't know if it's Weld. One of them is like, oh, and the Undersiders have one of the most powerful masters, referring to Regent. So like everybody in universe knows what Regent can do.
Right.
It's just
Except for Taylor, apparently.
Except for
Right.
Taylor.
Exactly. Well, that's what it is. Like Taylor is the audience. So aside from Taylor and us, it's like we have there's just no idea. So it's kind of interesting to see that. Kind of makes you wonder what he did do.
I love reading it. I think his backstory is super interesting, and like we're getting a peek of it here. So cool. More things that he can do, and just I mean, I already was a fan of his powers, but this seeing him take over Shadowstalker, because we don't know what's about to happen. And then all of a sudden, Shadowstalker is holding a bolt to Taylor's face. And we're like, well, we're fucked. Everything's fucked. Everything's fucked. And then it's the dork that gets you, because it's, he's the only one, Alec is the only one that calls Taylor dork. And it's like, oh my God, like he did it. He did it.
I remember the first time I read this, way so many years ago. And it was one of those where I had to reread the page and the page before just to make sure I didn't miss something. Because it was just so, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
It happens so fast.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's crazy too that his power allows him not just like control over their physical body, but the ability to use their powers as well. Because he moves her through the wall, right, to get to them or something like that. Yeah. So it's like it's not just like puppeteering; it's full control over them, which is crazy.
Yeah, which is interesting though, because, and this maybe is pulling information from later chapters, but I thought it was interesting how it still is nerve control, because we find out that the people's minds aren't affected by this, right? Like the person who they are, they're seeing all of this happen. They're feeling it all happen. The only difference is just whether or not they, what control they have over it, right? So it's this, it is still nerve control in the purest sense of like, he is literally piloting your nerves.
Yeah.
Which is whack. It's wild.
Yeah.
It would take so much concentration. And honestly, I think back to the fight with Bakuda, and when Alec kind of, goes overboard and ends up hurting himself. And it makes me wonder if that's what he was trying to do, but Bakuda is like too chaotic for him to get a good enough of a to try and grasp her.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because it seems like there have been times in the past that he could have potentially used it, and we're seeing it work so well now because he was able to like sit down with Shadow Stalker and really like take control of her.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder how many times he's tried to do that in the past, but we just haven't known about it.
Yeah. That's a good thought.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that happens and they have a plan.
I was going to say, well, we also see meet Imp, because Imp is kind of vaguely introduced in Arc 9. Where she kind of shows up at the end in Shadow Stalker's interlude. And so there's, she's the new member of the Undersiders.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of a fun introduction.
That was exciting. We love a new member.
We do. Did we figure out who it was? I'm not going to spoil it if we didn't.
I was going to say we did in this arc.
Okay.
In this arc,
yeah.
Okay.
In this arc, we
did.
did.
Chapter, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's also, I feel like it's also somewhat given away by the fact that just the way Brian berates her.
Yeah,
yes.
That's what I was gonna say. Oh yeah. Oh, it's so
such
funny.
a big brother move of like, do what I tell you, like big sigh, like I'm so tired of having to tell you what to do. Like, like fine. Like I just love it. I love it.
It's great. So much fun. Great character. Can't wait to see more of her.
I would say right away, I love. Well, we're going to get to that later, I guess, with the power.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got a good one. She's got a fun one.
She does.
She's got a fun one. I did think it was interesting, though. One thing that I wanted to mention in this scene is, as we talked about, it seems like lots of people besides Taylor know what Regent can do. And there's that line from Shadow Stalker where she looks at the Undersiders and she's like, "Are you guys just okay with this? Have you heard what he's done?"
Yeah.
And like, we know that he's killed somebody, which comes up again later. But yeah, just that the way she says it with genuine, what seems like genuine fear from Shadow Stalker, that's not something you would expect to hear.
Right. Yeah.
Like that is a moment where you're like, oh, maybe he is an actual, we've talked about how the Undersiders don't really feel like actual bad guys, like sure they rob a bank, but they're just kids. I don't know, we all have like sort of gray areas when it comes to crime against banks.
You
apparently.
Crashed a 1%er party.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this is that first moment where you kind of feel like, well, maybe Regent is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Kind of feels pretty villainous. Like
I have it in my dissecting worm notes, but I feel like it applies here too. It's how do I put this? Regent feels very rapey when he closes the door. And in the context of powers,
yes,
it very much fits given what he essentially does to Sophia, which is control and use her body without her permission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was hoping we would talk about this.
There's a lot of analogs for a lot of different, traditional traumas, if you will, in the story. And this is one of those where, like, for all intents and purposes, very rapey.
Yeah. Definitely.
No,
I feel we'll dive into that when we.
I was about to say
his interlude,
because I have a lot of thoughts in regards to that, specifically with the interlude later. So I definitely want to talk about that. Oh God.
Yeah, definitely. But until then, the Undersiders plan a little another heist. There's kind of a heisty mood.
Yeah, that kind of moves us into chapter 2. This is I'm not gonna lie, I love a good little heisty moment. I love a good plan. So we have the Undersiders basically come up with this plan to fool the PRT into taking them to the headquarters, which is just so, I love it. Like, oh, you took them. Shadow Stalker, like, yeah, I got him. Put him in the van. And the guy's like, you did that? Like, you took them all down? And she's like, yeah. What do you think? Like, I could do it. I did it. Look at him. They're all unconscious.
Well,
Put them in the
let's
van.
also back up for a second because we forgot about the flashback to 3 days earlier.
Oh,
Taylor
you're right.
coming back
Yes, that's
to
true.
the group.
Right.
That's true.
You're right. We did. Yep. That's true. Totally missed that.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's quick, but it's important. I'm glad it was there to sort of catch us up to where we see them in the present here.
Yeah, I think because I mean, obviously, Bitch is angry. Bitch is upset, obviously. But I think it's interesting that Alec kind of took Taylor's side there as like trying to, her trying to come back and join the group. And he's more on her side than anybody else is. Well, I'm excluding Lisa from that because Lisa's the one that brought her back. But
yeah, Lisa always backs you up. That's what
Lisa is just the bestest of friends.
Lisa is best girl.
Is best girl.
I'm gonna put it down. Michael, write this down. Lisa is best girl. Hot Brian is hot. But
Lisa's best girl.
Yeah.
Noted. That's accurate.
Also, Bitch is just now starting to get irritated at Brian for being the leader for some reason. Like, even her dogs knew that he was the alpha's alpha. Because Alpha Brian is alpha. But
I think it's a challenge. It's a challenging thing, right? Because like that's the nature of the dog per se is to challenge the authority until they put you in your place. Which in a weird way kind of makes it seem like maybe Taylor's more alpha now than Brian, at least in Bitch's mind. But we'll get to that later.
I was gonna say it's right. I mean, it's something that happens here that I enjoy watching. We've had it before with the whole heist that Taylor doesn't want to do initially, but then she realizes like this will get me more information, so she changes her mind mid thing and is like, actually, let's do this, and convinces everybody. Kind of swings the vote and then gets everybody to go against Brian. Not wholly by herself, but it is the swing vote kind of. She drags Bitch along because she's been hanging out with Bitch. Lisa kind of goes along, Lisa promotes the idea and then Alex goes along with her with some healthy convincing of money. And all of a sudden it's Brian versus everybody.
Right.
And this, while Bitch is not on the side for obvious reasons, it kind of happens again where Taylor swings more than half the group over to her side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm actually kind of curious because there's a moment where Imp is like, do I get a vote? And everyone's like, no, you don't get a vote. But I wonder if she would have voted for Taylor to stay in the group. And maybe it would have been out of a spite of like, oh, I'm going to spite Brian because Brian's, mad at her. But like, I think Imp probably would have voted to keep Taylor too.
Yeah.
Even if it might be for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, she would have done it in a heartbeat despite Brian. And also because like having one less person there would be more boring for her. Like,
yeah.
I also love that that's the swing for like, how do I convince you guys that I was telling the truth? And she's like, okay, remember that one time I confessed that I liked you? And everybody's just like, I knew it.
Like,
and Brian's like, it could have been an act. Alex, like, oh my God, Brian. Like, the two of you were so disgusting. It was, I couldn't stand to be in the room with you sometimes. It was so obvious. Like, you can't act that stupidly flirty with each other.
That was another great. These guys are teenagers. Like another moment where it really felt like you were reading a conversation between teenagers.
Yes,
I love that part. Oh man, that's great. All right, so we get to the heist, or the beginning part of the heist, with Regent Stalker controlling.
Oh, I like that.
Everything.
I like Regent
Stalker. Nice. It's good.
It's either that or Shadow Regent. I think Regent Stalker is.
Ooh.
I like Regent Stalker. Yeah.
With Regent Stalker convincing the PRT officers to forego the paperwork and just hightail it back to base.
Exactly.
Little convincing fight.
Oh.
And I love the second dart into Gru.
Yes.
It's like, what if he wakes up? Bam. Well, now he doubly isn't going to wake up.
Yeah. Oh gosh. It's so good. And I love that because of Skitter's costume, because she has the lenses, she can peek her eyes open and keep an eye on what's going on, as opposed to everybody else who just has to keep their eyes closed. Or I guess Gru, I don't necessarily know the details of Gru's mask, if there's like black stuff covering the skull eye holes, but the idea that like she's the only one that's able to kind of keep an eye on the group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have. I don't think he just has a motorcycle helmet, so like his visor is down.
That's right. I forgot about the motorcycle helmet.
Yeah. So he's probably watching as well.
He's probably looking as well. But I love that though. It's like we're just kind of getting through the half closed eyes as she's like watching, going limp, like trying not to flinch or anything, as PRT officers just like throw them in the back of a van, just pile them in.
Yeah. Personally, I don't know why the hell these PRT officers are listening to Shadowstalker, because
what the fuck?
She is, as everybody knows, almost a juvie. She's a liar and a juvie candidate. Like, it was jail or this. So why are we letting her tell paramilitary organization members?
To be fair, would everybody in the PRT know this about Shadowstalker?
No, but also the teenager that nobody likes or gets along with is like giving you orders to break protocol. Like, come on.
Yeah,
you can give it a pass, I guess, probably for the immediate grunts, since they could be like they're just little grunt dudes. Like, who knows how involved they are day to day with the actual heroes? They're just out there on patrol. But yeah, I agree. It's a little interesting how much control she has over everybody else. Makes you wonder how far bullying goes.
It's probably probably. It makes me think about like, is it just the fact that she's a cape, and it's like kind of like the idea that like, well, maybe not anymore, but the idea that like, oh yes, you would trust a police officer, like you trust a person in uniform. Not that necessarily applies anymore, because we don't. But
I forgot PRT officers are cucks to authority. It all makes sense.
Well, that's kind of what I mean, though, is that like if she's the cape, regardless of what your clearance is or like whatever, the default is probably to the cape, but that works for works in the wards. Like, well, she's the cape here, so I guess we're gonna default to what she says. And she's made a convincing argument, so okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, I like Wildbow's writing a lot. We all know this. There are multiple chapters in this arc that stand out as times that I feel are like some real lapses. Just not whole arcs, just moments that have stuck out to me, like over the whole of reading Worm, as like, well, that doesn't make sense. And the reason they stick out is because most of the time he makes sense. And Shadowstalker convincing them for no darn reason, and also dragons, which we'll get to.
Yeah, we'll
dragons
get to it.
dragoning.
No, I mean, that's fair. Yeah. Obviously, we talked about that before. This is a web serial. It was written and published within a few days usually, and there's no editing or anything like that. So there's definitely going to be moments that don't read as well as other moments for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just going to get that. But that's valid.
These are ones that stuck with me like over the whole of Worm, which also just goes to show, like I said, mostly on top of it. The fact that these stick out so much in comparison should say something.
And to be fair, Regent Stalker's attempt to fool the wards didn't quite work. And I have to say, to be vague as to what I do when I'm not recording podcasts, but a lot of my job involves sniffing out bullshit from people. And it was so validating because, let me just tell you, Weld knew from the beginning that was not Shadowstalker. Yeah. And was just waiting for the right moment to confirm it. And I have been there so many times, and it is so satisfying when that moment finally comes and you're like, aha! Take off the Scooby-Doo mask.
I'm going to need to hear these stories, Jacob.
Yeah, for real.
Another time. But yes, Oh, Weld got so many points in my book for his whole breakdown.
Weld's just, we love him.
I will say also, Alec is a winner in these arcs. Alec is the MVP. The fact that he did, fly through that first test.
He did it so well.
Don't fool me. Like, it wasn't Kidwin and you and I know it, and then kept walking.
That's so good. It was so good. I will say that, like, we already know that, like, Regent has that. He's very charismatic. Like, he rolls high in charisma, as we all know. But, like, this moment of him, like, he's been coached by Tattletale enough to know that, like, he's going to be questioned, he's going to be tested, and he's, like, bullshitted through, the code, which should be the deciding factor, and Weld's still just not convinced. And then that like evasion that he does is just so good. It's so satisfying. Like, I'm such a fan of it. And like the way he just, don't make, like, come on, like, it's me. Like, and we all know Shadowstalker enough to know that, like, she wouldn't want to put up with this bullshit from Weld. She'd want to go, like, I've been out on the streets for so many hours. Like, I'm fucking done. Like, I'm going to take a shower. And it just plays out so well. I love it.
And this is, because now I'm remembering, this is where, and it is Weld who says, humor me with the codes because they have one of the strongest masters in the city.
Yep.
Which just justifies Weld's, like, nerdy paperwork bookworm sort of mentality that we saw in the last arc. Like, he got the dossiers, he got, like, the stack of paperwork to go through and just went through it, and then immediately was ready for whatever the city threw at him.
So much.
Was like, what a great
leader.
Little
geeky boy. I love it. It's so good. So good.
And doesn't he just, like, come out swinging too? Like, Regent barely dodges his first attack.
Yeah.
Because he just, like, immediately is just like, swings
trap.
first. Yeah. He's like,
what was the
trap,
alternative?
stop.
It was accidentally still Shadowstalker, and
Right.
you just clobbered her. Like, whoopsies, can never be too careful.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that he took a gamble, and it was like, it's a 10% chance it's Regent, and it's a 90% chance it's Sophia, but I'm willing to take those odds.
Yeah.
We interrupt our scheduled program to bring you a word from our sponsor, Zencastr, a one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. When we first started this podcast, we knew we needed a service that would let us record remotely. After doing some research, Zencastr was the obvious choice. We started using Zencastr and never looked back. It's super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. All you do is log in, invite people to join your room, and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. You can record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. You can rest easy even if you have an unstable connection, knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. We do all our recording in Zencastr, and when the episode is ready, we can distribute it to all major podcast platforms. Zencastr has made podcasting so much easier with its all-in-one podcasting platform and tools. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code Brocktonbaybc, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. That's zencastr.com/pricing and use our code Brocktonbaybc. And now back to our scheduled programming.
But yeah, we're getting into chapter 3 now, which is, big fight, and we love it.
Mm-hmm. Get a nice good fight.
Yeah.
This is a great fight.
I love Imp. Not for her personality, but for her ability. Just the stranger classification as a whole is like most of my favorite powers. And
is this the first, like, actual stranger we've met in the series so far?
Wasn't Knight a stranger or no?
Ooh, had definitely like Stranger 1 or something like that.
You did have some stranger power. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. They're so unique, because I think the only other, Stranger are the most rare classification next to, is it Trump? I think.
Yeah, Trump's pretty rare.
And stranger abilities, they're so fun and unique. And especially when it comes to having to write them. You know, in this case, you're having to write a character that everybody else is constantly forgetting, which for all intents and purposes is that they are just invisible. But that's not the case. They're not invisible. Everybody just keeps forgetting them.
Yeah. I think it's done so well through Taylor's perspective that she's constantly like, who? Which I guess
crazy.
I guess that like because Lisa has, Lisa knows everything. Miss Smarty Pants, does she just like constantly have a bead on where Imp is?
Probably.
Yeah, I guess in some facet she would, right? So her power probably tells her like there's a friendly cape in your peripheral right there, like that kind of thing. I would guess.
Right. Yeah.
It sort of gives her what she needs to know. But yeah, no, really fun reading, getting to enjoy Imp's power through Taylor's eyes is a lot of fun. Big for any other Doctor Who fans, big like the silence, right? Kind of that same vibe.
Oh my god.
Really, really similar. I mean, identical, really sort of power. Yeah. But really fun to see. It's a really fun concept to play around with, and a lot of fun trying to keep track of everything.
Literally, Jacob mentions Doctor Who and the nerds around the world unite. I just love it so much.
Yes, that's right. Of course, everyone nods in agreement. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, of course.
I've seen the Magic the Gathering Doctor Who set before, yeah.
Yeah.
I love you guys so much.
I'm somewhat of a nerd myself. But back to the fight. This is a really fun fight. Honestly, I forgot how much I enjoyed it until I reread it again because I completely forgot about it. I knew, I remembered the scene, but I didn't remember the fight itself. Yeah. And I think this has been my favorite fight since, not including Leviathan, that we've read so far. This might be my favorite little fight.
Really?
Everybody sort of gets a little moment to shine. Weld really gets a moment to shine. Lots of moments to shine. Kid wins. Tech is everywhere. Imp's running around. Just like so much is going on. And there's like a really definitive purpose with the fight that the other setters are trying to achieve. And having that element is really fun to follow.
All right. I'll be contrarian. This is my least favorite fight so far.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't like using Kidwin's guns, or like not necessarily using them, but just how they talk about them. I don't like it. I really wish the dragon showing up was cooler. I really want it to, but there's something about the like, it's not the events, but it genuinely is something about how they're written that I kind of find boring. I really don't like this fight.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it though.
Yeah, that is weird. I will say it's not like one of my favorite fights, but it's not my least favorite fight. And I think Dragon showing up was like such a great, fun little twist because she's easy to forget about because she is kind of one of those like big cape that sits in the background that we haven't really seen too much of. And like her showing up and then having an interlude, it's like, oh, fuck yeah, because I love Dragon. Dragon's the best. And her showing up is just so fun. Like the lights go out and it's like, boom, the lights come back on through the screen and it's Dragon's voice in her like AI generated kind of Newfoundlandy voice coming through talking to Tattletale. Oh, I love that. That is just great. I'm here for that.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it.
In terms of upgrades, Taylor gets her upgrade with let me see. Great. So Taylor came up with the chocolate covered ants from hell. What the fuck, Taylor?
That's right. Yes. I forgot about that. Yes. So okay, wait, hold on. I just need to because it's too good not to visualize it because I'm thinking of it in of course, with Dissecting Worm, I'm thinking of it already visually. Like this little line of bugs that are just walking across the table, taking a little swimmy bath through a little shallow dish of what's it called?
Hairspray. First, it starts with hairspray.
The hairspray, and then the what's the stingy
Capsaicin.
Capsaicin. And there's just like a little bit of capsaicin, and like I love the idea of these these like assembly line of bugs just getting nuked up for war. Let's go. Jesus.
And then Taylor
terrifying.
pulling the Lord Farquaad, like, some of you will die.
Yeah.
But that is a sacrifice I am willing to make.
I am willing to make.
So good.
Okay, I gotta
my
ask
God.
though. We have to ask the question, right? Did Wildbow do research?
Of course. The number
Define
one rule.
do research.
No.
I mean-
No. Listen, it's any writer. You can tell a person is a writer by looking at their browser history and the weird shit that they have to research when they're writing a book, because it is weird shit. I can tell you that. We're all writers. We all know this.
This is fair. This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
I 100% believe that Wildbow was hunkered over his computer trying to find out if hairspray kills bugs, how fast hairspray can kill a bug, how do you get capsaicin, how does one accumulate it, what does it look like, how does it gather, can it be attached to I want to see Wildbow's browser history so badly.
I feel like the FBI probably has like a guy that's just like deviating, like he's seeing a bunch of names and he's got to slide them into the are they a terrorist or are they a writer? You know, just like oh no, flagging
Basically,
them.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I do know that you can order pretty pure food ingredients online, so it's not surprising that you can get capsaicin. Like I met somebody who owned a candy shop, and he was talking about how you can get, like, if you just want to torture yourself for some reason and you like sour stuff, you can get like pure citric acid.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can order that at a pharmacy, I imagine.
You can. That's how you make bath bombs. Fun fact is citric acid.
Citric acid. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
It's what makes them fizzy.
But yeah, anyway, so I would just like to imagine Wildbow being like, okay, I have this idea for something Taylor can do. Let me go find an ant pile. Like, you're talking about Google research. I'm talking like he like goes out to an ant pile and he's like, let me get some ants. I'm going to spray some hairspray on them. We'll see what happens.
Y'all, I have to tell you right now, because I can't have this conversation without looking it up. So I looked it up. Well, I'll tell you right now, I know what Taylor's spending all of her money that she's been getting from Coil on, because this shit is expensive. Capsaicin? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yep.
Capsaicin?
Yeah, capsaicin.
It is fucking expensive. $350 for a single gram?
Of just like
Holy
pure
cow.
capsaicin. Wow.
Uh-huh. It's from you can get it from like chemical companies.
The way you said it, and like a single gram, I'm like, so I can do an 8-ball of capsaicin.
Hey, it's cheaper than other drugs.
Yeah.
Well, you can buy up to a kilogram, which is $34,000.
Woo!
Capsaicin is just spice. What we perceive as spiciness from like peppers.
Yeah,
So-
natural compound found in
like-
chili peppers.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Exactly.
But anyways,
So she does that.
yeah, so she does that. Weaponizes
And what the fuck, Taylor?
the spice.
Weaponizes chili powder.
Yeah, is
Don't
that our
let
what the
Taylor
fuck Taylor?
anywhere near your spice cabinet. Jesus.
That's this arc's what the fuck
It's
Taylor?
the spice melange.
Yeah. What the spice, Taylor?
But we've got a few other things that happen in this fight that are kind of important.
Yeah.
We have Bitch's betrayal.
Oh gosh, yes.
I have bitch. What a bitch.
That's also what I put down. Bitch is a bitch. Yeah, no, so this is so chapter 4, dragons speaking through the computers, locking the undersiders in, or I guess the few undersiders that went up to the wards section, because Gru got taken out pretty early. Chapter 5, dragon versus the undersiders in the gift shop. And that's where bitch is a bitch.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
Oh,
you
and
gotta
also
deal with the dragon Dinobot transformer that shows up.
right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's when the Dinobot shows up. But with in chapter 4, with Dragon talking through the computers, locking the undersiders in, Imp comes in fucking clutch and gets the door open. Love that.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, she gets a great moment. I love that.
Like taking the Tinker toys and blasting the door open. Love that.
Yep. Very well done.
It was very much like everyone was overanalyzing the tech. Like, okay, let's try to figure out how this works. Okay, let's see what this one does, and then it just grabs the nearest gun and fires.
Bluey, Jesus.
Yeah, don't they go through
here.
and isn't Tattletale there and she's like looking at the weapons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait, not that one.
Yeah.
Like just
that one's a non-lethal flamethrower, and you're like, non-lethal.
You're like, wait a second, Kidwin.
Yeah.
What you working on up here, bud?
You keep using that phrase, Kidwin. I don't think it means what you think it means.
What you think it means. Oh my
Exactly.
God.
And then Gru's been out this whole time too, because he got tagged by Clock Blocker, right?
He got clock blocked.
Am I remembering that right? Yeah, he got clock blocked.
So he gets taken out so early. That's something like, because normally he comes in so clutch with his darkness, able to kind of like mask the area. It's usually like one of the opening moves in a fight. But because he gets taken out so early, because they have to deal with all the containment foam, later on and whatnot. But like, there's no, he acts like a shield somewhat in a way, because you can't see where everybody is. But now that he's not even in the fight, he's frozen downstairs in the lobby. Like, it's the group is kind of forced to work without him, which is cool. I like that. I like when we kind of see the group dynamics in different ways, like without certain characters.
Yeah, I like that too. And I like I like how they kind of have to improvise to figure out what the best way to make it work is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I think if I remember, I'm trying to remember these small details right, but if I remember right, they were not expecting Flechette to be there.
Correct.
I think that was like the one, like, Tattletale's always like, yeah, I know what's going on, but there's always that one thing she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing this time, and it was like, oh,
right, yeah. Which actually, Taylor mentions that when they're talking about the guns and the Tinker Toys, she says, she's like, oh, don't worry, I'll tell you if one of them starts to overheat. And Taylor has that moment of like, I mean, you fucked up before, like, will you? Like, are one of us about to get our arms blown off?
Yeah. Will you though?
Will you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we get the gift shop fight as the fight spills over into the gift shop.
Yeah, and Dragon shows up in her big, delightful, so
power armor.
Cool, so fucking cool. I love it so much. Huge Dragon fan. You guys hadn't noticed already.
Yeah. Oh, my computer has been named Dragon since I read this.
Oh, fuck yes.
Oh,
I love
it.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Jacob, I'm going to take that. I'm going to use that. So great.
Jacob's just like, hey, Siri, please call me Colin.
Oh,
no.
Woo!
Nick, stay away from my search history.
Dragon X Colin fan. Enter.
I rate it.
Also, just as a funny note, my phone heard that.
Yes. Did it look it up? Is it gonna call you Colin now?
It started calling somebody Michaela in my phone. I was like, wait.
No. Oh my God, I love it.
But we do get some really fun insight pre her interlude. We get some pretty fun insight into Dragon's sort of morality or ethos, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, saving Skitter, and not wanting to see her get hurt, despite the fact that I think pretty much everyone in the world would not have faulted Dragon or the PRT if Skitter died while trying to infiltrate their headquarters.
Right, and steal valuable information.
Yeah. Like, it's such a great moment for Dragon's character to look beyond the fact that she could easily get away with seriously harming or killing Skitter and still choosing not to.
Yeah.
Which I loved.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling it up because I want to look at it again. But what she says to Taylor before Taylor, goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so it's not a long conversation, but kind of that moment of like,
it's
I because she says it later. She's like, I wish I would have liked to have had a longer conversation with her.
Yeah. Well, because she hints, and I think maybe this is maybe coming from the interlude. I might be mixing this up.
Yeah.
But she hints at like the fact that she's been watching Taylor for a while or watching Skitter for a while and like still believes that it's like, I know there's good in you, like kind of going that whole route.
Yeah.
Still wanting to give her the benefit of the doubt despite everything.
She says, she tells Skitter to move the insects away because the gun has overheated and is freaking out and shooting lightning all over the place. And she says, count yourself fortunate, Skitter. I've never killed a criminal without explicit permission and all the filed paperwork, which I just love. Such a nerd. And I'm not about to start with you. I'll be in contact. And she's like, what?
Yep.
To pull in a little bit of context from, without spoiling too much about the interlude, it's clear that Dragon is really good at understanding people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And because she does the same thing with Canary, she's like, look, I've read your court case. That was a shame. You really shouldn't be here, but I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it seems like the same thing with Skitter, where later in her arc, she's like, the path that this person has gone on doesn't make sense unless there's something more at work that we don't know.
Right.
And that kind of thinking is just so rare, even among the heroes and the villains and the heroes, but especially the heroes who are trying to maintain a sense of order and, arrest criminals. It's too easy to be like, well, you're just the bad guy, and that's that.
Exactly.
And I don't know, I think that is Dragon's insight into people is ironically one of her best strengths.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
And I feel like in a world that's clearly so drawn into like black and white of like good and bad, hero and villain, Dragon sees the gray space in between. And I love that. Like, because she even says it later in her interlude, which I guess we can talk about in a bit. But like, she knows that there's more going on. She knows that there's a reason she turned Taylor turned Colin down, that she didn't want to join the wards, that she would rather, be in the bird cage than be in the wards. And so she knows that there's more going on.
Yeah.
And she does the research into it. Like, yes, I agree with you, Nick. It's such a good moment for Dragon. I just love her.
She is the, to continue our strengthen our nerd cred and to place characters into their like D&D alignments. Dragon is the lawful good, like paladin, right? So she's got that sort of personal but very ethically sound code that she follows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think both her and Colin are both the lawful good character, but it's Colin is the traditional lawful good that leans so much into the lawful side that the good slightly disappears,
right?
Whereas Dragon is so good that she actually really hates the laws that
confine her.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great.
I think Dragon and Weld are very similar because we see that with Weld being the geeky, paperwork guy. Like he knows all the facts. He's done his research. He's read up. He does the paperwork. He gets the job done. And he is also in that kind of like lawful good alignment. And I think that more and more looking at him as taking over as head of the wards, it feels like such a good space for him to be in. And then by proxy, potentially working with Dragon more. Like I like both of them so much, and I've enjoyed seeing them again crop back up, in this arc. It's just been very fun.
It's interesting if looking at those two as the opposite ends of the spectrum for what lawful good looks like. Weld is sort of your baby lawful good. Like you could see him very easily becoming like Arms Master, where he's very concerned with fixing the city, yada yada yada, to the detriment of his ability to empathize with people.
Mm.
Like he could very easily go down that road where he leans so hard into paperwork and to, helping other people that he actually isn't benefiting them. And on the other hand, you have Dragon where, he could be incredibly empathetic and
Yeah.
in that way, maybe bucking a lot of the rules that bind him. I think about that with that fight that happens earlier, the previous arc with the Travelers.
Yeah.
Like they really didn't need to have that fight.
No.
But because of his lawfulness, he forced the issue.
Yeah.
And had he been more empathetic and understanding for, his teammates and the city and all that, I think he would have just let that go.
Mm.
Yeah, interesting. It reminds me a lot of I need the fan artists, the skilled artists among the group to draw me a nice crossover with Weld as Ted Lasso.
Aw. Yes,
Like-
please.
Like Weld Lasso. I think there's some
There's some crossover there, huh?
there's some
Good point.
crossover there. Yeah.
That's funny.
All right, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Nick?
Oh, although, I was going to divert to Dragon's baby, so to speak.
Yes.
Don't know what else to call that
The
thing.
fetus.
This was so weird the first time I read it.
Creepy.
It's
Yeah.
weird every time I read it.
Yeah.
And I still have complicated emotions around these
What
things.
the fragging dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. What's up with that?
I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Well, it's enough, right? Because Alec can like feel. Is it Alec, right? Someone can feel.
It's Alec.
It is Alec, right?
He tries to control the nervous
He
system
feels
to do something.
There's a nervous
Yeah.
system, yeah.
He's like, there's a nervous system.
I think Tattletale says something about it too, that she can sense that there's somebody in there, but
Yeah.
she
Mhm.
can't get more than that. Because earlier, Imp has the whole thing like, can she see me? Can she see me? And Tattletale's like, I don't know. And then, very quickly realize that like, oh yeah, no, Dragon can see you and is relaying your location to Weld. And that's why he's hitting you so hard, because Dragon knows where you are and is telling him. And I think I love the little, like the tiny little hints, the little breadcrumbs we get before we've read the interlude of like, just like, oh, okay, so she can see you. Okay, so there's a nervous system. We can get a bead on someone in the suit, but not sure who or what.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely very, very strange and weird. It's this like, again, it's that revelation where even though Dragon was just so nice to Skitter, we're also kind of like, what are you doing though? Like, what is this?
What's going on?
Yeah, definitely a very strange feeling, which we find out more about later, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So my first thought about the sea cucumbers when I read them was that this is Dragon. Dragon is like a weird hive collection of lizard things. Or maybe that was Dragon and Dragon had just sacrificed herself. That, Dragon was a dragon, was some weird, much like, Godzilla getting hit with the nuclear bomb as a lizard and turning into Godzilla in like the 2001 Godzilla movie or something. That this lizard was in fact a non-human trigger. I mean, we find out that kinda, but not organic. But now reading this, I really feel the whiplash because it kind of feels like a retcon, but it isn't. It's an organic like storage system that she can remote control because we get the explanation in the interlude and I don't like them. I don't know why they exist. And I don't feel the explanation's good either.
Well, to be fair, it's very gross. Like
Yes.
just being honest, you look at the idea of it, you're like, yeah, it's kind of disgusting. Not gonna lie there, Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't get the purpose. And the explanation is like, I can do more storage with it. And I'm like, really? That's what
Well, I think
it
it has a lot to do with the what's the word? Which we're getting into the interlude a bit now, but has a lot to do with the Dragon Slayers, right? It was a way to prevent them from getting more tech from her.
Yes.
Yeah, except that even though that explanation it exists, like that's not stopping the tech from being gotten, just the like control system. I
think I think that is what it was, though, is that they were taking, because it was just an operated robot, they were able to take enough to figure out how it worked. But now it's sort of like a remote bomb almost too that she's added. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is a bit confusing. The purpose
I'll be honest,
of the
from
creatures.
what I remember of reading this as a whole, every dragon interlude is confusing. Just from what I remember. And this really, it's just another one. So I am very, very unsatisfied with this explanation.
Listen, Alan, sometimes you're just so smart, you got to make yourself a flesh baby and put it inside of your robot.
You just have to. A tiny fetus in a robot.
Yeah.
Then that's really the only way sometimes.
I do like, because I actually kind of agreed with Alan here. It's a bit of a shocker. I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. But I do like the element of part of any sort of character's story where the reader isn't like really tuned into what's going on, because there's a lot of history wrapped up with that. And they name drop the what are they called? The Dragon Slayers?
Dragon Slayers.
Saint and the Dragon Slayers.
That's right. Saint. I don't forget Saint. I love him. He's my favorite
Saint.
character. But I
you
love
just have a power suit fetish.
Yeah. You're not wrong. But I do love having an element of a character that goes beyond what we understand about that character. Like there's this whole history with Dragon and the Dragon Slayers that go into how her tech was stolen, which we have learned is really, really rare. Like nobody steals Tinker tech because it's all tracked and booby trapped and all sorts of stuff. But yet the most powerful Tinker in the world had her stuff stolen. So like there's a cool element there that I like, that she's sort of she's obsessed with it and she's creating these workarounds for it because she never wants it to happen again. And I really like that part of her character. But I do agree with Alan. I think Flesh Baby is a weird solution to that problem. That is a bit confusing, but I like the problem, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious what Wildbow would do with like a couple passes and rewrites, how he would tweak that, if he would.
If and this is obviously more for the dissecting worm potentially, but if we were going to redo it, I'd say that the explanation should be something like it helps counteract the Manton effect, or it helps engage the Manton effect by having an organic piece inside of the suit.
Oh, interesting.
It does work
I think
better.
would be a better
like
explanation.
That.
It's
organic
organic
I wouldn't want to
enough.
get rid of the creepy baby.
Yeah, it's organic enough that like perhaps people who could like do some weird stuff passing through inorganic material couldn't move into the suit because there's an organic component to it.
Right.
But at the same time, there's enough organic component that you can't do all the things you could do to inorganic material. Like, but it's also not organic enough that you can, for instance, be regent and control it.
Yeah.
So you getting the best of both worlds there, if you were going to give it a really good explanation.
Yeah. And it seems like she did mention too that she doesn't give them any like nerves or pain receptors.
Yeah.
So whenever they die, they aren't
They're not
in
feeling
pain?
it. Yeah. Which
I guess is kind of comforting.
I mean, kind of, but then it kind of plays up to the idea that, like, is it, I don't know, the idea of, like, is it still right even if you can't feel anything?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, and this is one
Yeah.
thing Wildbow
Maybe.
does with a lot of the story is there's a lot of sort of like, I don't know if they're intentional or not, but there's a lot of allusions to other fantasy sci-fi stories, as I think any author really kind of does, which sort of asks those same questions. Like, there's a lot of similarities between Dragon's Flesh Babies and like the pilots in Dune that are like not human flesh pod humans that are just designed for a single purpose of flying the ships, yada yada. And they sort of all dance around those same type of ethical questions, which are fun to explore for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But anyway, moving on.
Creepy lumpy babies.
Creepy babies dissolve into creepy puddles.
Gooey puddleness.
And Taylor escapes and gets to confront Bitch.
Yeah, because Bitch fucking shoved her into some containment foam. He's gonna leave her behind like a fucking bitch. Goddamn.
I love this. Just walks up, fucking whips out the baton, which just every time Taylor does that is phenomenal.
It's so
whips out the baton, fucking kneecaps her, and then backhands her.
Yeah.
Just the disrespect.
Yeah, and the baton doesn't take Bitch down, but the backhand does, which I just love. Ugh.
Yeah, number one, Taylor, what you been pumping?
Real.
And second, she gets down on her level and really channels some Sophia energy there.
Yes, she
like,
does.
Holy cow. Talking about weakness and all that stuff. Like,
she learned from the best.
I put down oh bitch, I love our little talks. Just because like Taylor and her have this this rapport and it fluctuates, and now we're back to hitting each other. Like I love it when we get back to old times.
As it should be.
But it's it's a great confrontation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love the baton between the teeth. Like that is so, it feels very animalistic, which again works because it's Bitch and dog brain. But like that like raw, very animalistic moment is so it's so cool.
And then they're fine.
And then everything's fine. Well, Bitch walks off because she says we're either gonna be like we are teammates and like I'm offering to be your friend, like take it or leave it. And then Bitch gets up and leaves. She's like, well, I guess she's leaving it then. Like, okay.
But then we get more upgrades.
Upgrades. Yes.
Get some proper fucking henchmen.
Yep. So we're into chapter 6 now. The Undersiders have escaped. Skitter attacks Bitch, gives her a bitch slap, which we love. Regent lets Shadowstalker go, quote unquote, and the Undersiders meet up with Coil, where Dinah tells them that Jack Slash will just kill everyone. And then Coil divides up the territories to the Undersiders, and Skitter tells Coil her demands in regards to Dinah.
Man, a lot to jump around here too, but
it's a good chapter.
Yeah, the tension in that, I don't know if for me when I was reading it, the tension in the Dinah scene, specifically, was like reading it again. Obviously, kind of rereading this, things hit a little differently, but just that whole moment, I don't think hit me as hard the first time. It was just sort of like, oh, I wonder what that's about. Mm-hmm. And then rereading it it's just hits differently. It's just like there's just so much in there, and like Coil not being like caught off guard by what she's saying, Dinah really not knowing what she's saying. Like nobody really understands it. It's just sort of bizarre, but it doesn't feel right. It's really uneasy.
Yeah. Also, at this point in time, if I'm Coil, I don't know if letting Dinah talk to the Undersiders is a net positive or negative, because it seems like he's like she's fine, and he like their whatever guessing game of numbers is fine until they interact with the Undersiders, and then she's like, actually, everything's fucked. And he's like, where was this before?
Yeah. But and this is just another testament, just to sort of the whiplash of Wadbow's writing sometimes, where this is just so good. Like the way he's writing, which is essentially like the butterfly effect in real time, right? Is so good, because it's like, oh wait, the Undersiders decided to stay for lunch today, and now the world's going to end. But I served them salmon for lunch, and now I'm king. Like it's just,
it's just now I'm king.
More salmon. I need more salmon.
Write that down. Oh my god.
It's just so good to read. It's really, really well written. In terms of really seeing Dinah's power work.
I also love that we use Dinah here as a way to introduce who the Slaughterhouse Nine are, because we've mentioned them before already, and we know that like, oh, they're creepy and they show up after, big Endbringer events, and obviously there's a lot of like weight that comes behind their name, but we don't necessarily know who they are or like what they are. And so, asking Dinah like, oh, what's the likelihood of running into whatever. And she's like, who? It's like, well, here, let me show you. Like, narratively, it works really well to like tell us who they are. And, as we're going through the names and Taylor's recognizing, some of these people, or recognizing some of the images that she's seen on the internet already or whatever. Like, it's a great way to introduce them without it feeling, too much of a lore drop. Because Dinah's what, 10, 11, something like that?
Yeah, she's young, yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't necessarily know who they are. And so I think it's a cool way. I like utilizing Dinah in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like this is our equivalent to when we were sitting down and going over the list of heroes. Going over their powers real quick, and while it is a lot of just exposition, it had the fun dialogue back and forth, and I feel like this is that same scene over again, but with tension being the emotion in the air rather than like the witty repartee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the revelation that Jack Slash is gonna do something. He's the catalyst, sort of, right?
Right.
For some bigger,
some huge event
thing. Which I love. I love as they're talking about his powers. They're like, well, he's just like really good with cutting stuff, right? And Tattletale's like, unless he cuts through the whole world. It's like, wow.
Oh my god. Just got very dramatic. Oh yeah, I love it. Love it. Yeah.
And then they're like, no, that's silly. That's not what's gonna happen.
Silly. No, that couldn't possibly. I think it's so fun too, like thinking about them trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And like I mean, it's just so, like you said, Jacob, earlier with the whole butterfly effect, like, you just never know. And, like, what things could potentially change them. And Dinah's clearly, like, had these, premonitions before in regards to Jack Slash, and she just didn't know who it was. And now she can put, the premonitions of, like, all these people in the world dying to a face, and it being Jack Slash.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So good. I just love it so much. I'm so excited for this season, you guys. Slaughterhouse 9 is like one of my favorite sections.
It's a good few arcs for sure. This is a highlight for a lot of people. So
I don't know if I would call them like best villains of all time, because obviously you reserve a lot of your favorite villains to what I would consider like your master types, You usually and usually solo people. This is an interesting crowd where like there's multiple standouts in this group of people that I will just say haunt me as villains. I'm never gonna put them down as like favorite villains, but maybe that's what makes them the better villain, because I hate them so much. Yeah. I don't not even hate, like, I dislike their personality. I hate them, like, reading about them makes me uncomfortable. Hate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that's what I love so much about them, because I love a good uncomfortable villain. I love a villain that is villainous. Like, it's easy to see, Lung as the villain, very much as a villain because he's running the gangs and he's villain to Brockton Bay. But like, this is a different scale of villain. In the same way that the Endbringers are kind of their own scale of villain. The Endbringers are villainous, but not in the sense of like, I don't know, they're in their own category, as opposed to like, yes, the Slaughterhouse 9, the serial killers. Like, oh fuck yeah, the crime girlies, get behind them. Like, I love that shit. It's so good. I love a good villain, and get a bunch of them together. Oh, get all 9, or I guess 8, all of them together. Let's go.
There's something to be said about villains where, like, and obviously I think Marvel, because that's just where we get a traditional villain, as we think. Like, what makes good Marvel villains is usually their humanization. Like, they're such a relatable, yes, this character might have been right in some sense. I get what they're going for. They're very human. They're very close. And the Slaughterhouse 9 is just the opposite of that. They're
Yeah.
as they talk about, like, there were people who became monsters because of their powers. There are people who had powers that were monstrous, but it kind of got exacerbated. And there were people who were probably going to be mass murderers either way. And the powers made that exponentially more terrifying.
Ugh.
Yeah. Which is a terrifying thought. And also, it's just, it's so much more real in a world like this, right? So, like, I feel like with so many superhero stories, we sort of willfully accept the fantasy of those worlds where, good and bad is defined by who's dressed in white and black, and we're fine with that because it's fun. But like, we know that that's not realistic, and that if there were actual powers, that people would absolutely be just killing everybody with them. Like, that's just the sad state of the world. And this feels so real. And I think that's part of, and I totally agree with you, and I think that's part of what makes the Slaughterhouse 9 so evil and like disgusting to read about, is because it feels very realistic. Like, yeah, this is, you would absolutely expect to see a group of serial killers using their powers just to kill people because
why not?
Why not? Exactly. Like, ugh, it's icky. It's gross.
So good. It's so good. Can you tell I'm a huge fan of Criminal Minds?
And I feel like if you were on Earthbet, you would lead the Tumblr stands on like the Slaughterhouse, the Jack Slash fangirls.
Oh, yeah. For sure, 100%.
The slash fanfics, if you will.
The slash fan. Oh, jeez. Yeah, no.
I don't want to. I don't want to miss something though. That I feel like our Taylor would point out. Apparently, Johnny Depp exists in Earthbet.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
I love it so much. That reference is fantastic.
That was the first thing I thought of when she said he has a bit of a Johnny Depp look to him. I'm like, well, at least we know what actor we're hiring.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so
exactly.
how many bracelets does Jack Slash wear at any given point in time? And how many handkerchiefs in his back pocket?
The goatee, the glasses. I love it.
The real question is, does Amber Heard exist?
No.
Yes, but she's part of the Slaughterhouse 9 as well.
All right, carry on.
That's funny.
Amber Heard can be Burn Scar.
No.
Oh,
God. Oh boy.
Well, we don't have too much left, too. Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's just our 2 interludes, really.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess we should mention.
Yeah, talk about the divvying up the territories.
Yes, so they divide it up, and it's interesting because Taylor gets given a territory that's near her old house, near the docks, near the places where her original notes to Coyle were that, like, well, are you going to fix up the city? And he puts her in the place where he knows she cares about. So she cares about the docks. And so, like, and it kind of gives her that moment of, like, does he know who I am? Because this is so close to my house. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Little interesting. And especially coming off of Coyle's interlude at the end of Arc 8, where like we know that he has tried a few different possibilities, most likely. And he's probably tested a few different territories with who's best fit where. So yeah, it's interesting to think about it from that perspective, that he probably is aware to some degree that at least that area has significance to her.
Right.
Yeah.
And she would be quicker to actually accept it as a territory,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I would say I don't think that's the way his power works, but he's probably asked Dinah to calculate where people would work better.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I just thought about the fact of him and Dinah's powers in conjunction, that, her problem with getting limited is that, she gets headaches and stuff when she uses her power too much. Like, she can only do it a limited amount of times per day, because it hurts her. But if he just splits it in half, he can get twice the questions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it works twice as fast.
Alec interlude.
Oh.
Yep.
All right. I gotta just say, there's a few lines in the entire series that always stick with me. Some of my favorite lines in just the way they're written. But I'm letting you go. Alex lied is top 3 favorite sentences in the entire story. Like,
yeah.
I'll
be honest, I completely forgot about this.
So did I. Interlude. Yeah.
It's
so
just
good.
God. I have so many thoughts, I don't know where to start with them. But it's such a, like, up until this point, I feel like we, like the audience, the readers, have been on board with Shadowstalker getting what she deserves.
Yes.
Right? Like, everybody wants her to get it.
Yes.
And then she gets not what she deserves. I don't think anyone deserves this.
No.
And you immediately are like, oh, I am a terrible person.
Yeah, immediate regret.
Yeah, like you can't enjoy this arc at all, despite the fact that you have wanted to, right up until this point. And it's such a brutal slap in the face for all of that.
Yeah, it's so easy to just hate her. And for everything that she's done, for the way that she talks, even in her interlude in the last arc, where she's talking to what's her face on the phone, and just the way that she just interacts and talks, she's a bitch, and we hate her for it. And yet, I felt sorry for her here. I felt sorry for her. I felt sorry for her family, and it's easy to assume. And I think we were even talking about this in the last arc, where we're talking about where we think Shadowstalker is a psychopath or a sociopath, at least, and having kind of that, like, well, she clearly doesn't give a shit about other people, but we feel her emotions through this interlude in regards specifically to her family, and that, the waves of regret or frustration or anger, and that anger isn't just coming from, I'm being controlled, but like, Alec is speaking for me. He is in a position to use my voice and say things that I would never actually do or say, specifically in regards to her family. And because we haven't really seen anything about her family, like even before, like with everything that happened at the school with the principal and the lawyer Alan guy coming in talking for Sophia and for Emma, her mother doesn't show up. It's a caseworker who we assume is from the wards because, later, because we know. But the idea that she has this whole family life that has been kept secret and separate on purpose. And now it's all just being violated.
I love that from a very meta perspective. Alec is not just controlling her movements, but controlling her interlude. And this is also Shadowstalker's interlude. Like, we get her whole story here, but it's not truly hers. It's Alex in disguise, which is just like extra icky.
Extra icky.
And we see quickly, like, Alex. I mean, we get Alex's background and what he's what he's feeling on the day-to-day too, of like boredom and why he prefers to be a background player, because like, oh, man, my line in this one, Jacob, was being Alec, only Alec. Like that whole spiel where it's like, is boring. How can you go back to living life when you've done so much, like enjoying other people's bodies like that? I was like, holy cow.
So creepy.
Yeah, and no, that line too, where he's like, just the idea of like, I've slept with myself as any number of other people. And it's just like, oh, that's so weird, but fascinating to imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just because, we assume that Sophia is the sociopath, but like in this arc, it feels very clear that Alec is also a sociopath, or more so than Sophia is. And just this, like, he is enjoying this way too much.
Yep. And this is very much like setting Alec apart from the rest of the Undersiders too, as like an actual villain. Like Tattletale's got a debt to Coil, Gru's trying to provide for his sister. Obviously Taylor's here for her reasons, but then Alec's just like, man, I'm just bored, having fun, doing what I can to mess with people. Like
the line between Alec being just a nonchalant member of the Undersiders, like a casual villain, and him being like an insanely dangerous supervillain is ambition. That's the line. Is his ambition could easily sway and change, and he could be one of the biggest villains because of his power. And it's terrifying. And the fact that his teenageness coming through is what keeps him as such a, kind of low level villain, because he, I'm just bored. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. All right. Wow. It's like a dam. It's like a dam holding back all of the Alec problems that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. We mentioned this earlier, and I feel like we do need to talk about it, but the very rapey vibes of this, all of it. And it doesn't, we don't need to have Alec, looking at Shadowstalker naked in a mirror or anything else for it to be insanely rapey. And like, even just him standing there running his hands down her body and feeling like the muscles in her arms, like even him talking about feeling the muscles in her thighs and running and feeling that, like, oh, you're an athletic person. Like, you run for fun. Feeling the muscles, feeling the adrenaline kick in, feel all the, the boost of serotonin from running. It is such a violation, and it doesn't have to be sexual in nature for it to be insanely violating and insanely like rapey.
Yeah.
And it's immensely uncomfortable.
Kind of a general question. Do you think, because he justifies going as far as he does, at least internally in the arc, because he says to Shadowstalker, like, if I let you go right now, you would turn around and kill us.
Right.
So he goes that extra mile to completely destroy her life, really show how threatening he is, because he's like, now you won't mess with us. But like, I don't know. Do you think that's true, or do you think that?
There's another reason too. He was just going to mess up a few things, right? Make her kind of show like, hey, I'm going to call Emma. But then he finds out, because he knows Taylor's story. That's what triggers it, I think.
I think so,
too.
too.
You are right.
Yeah.
Is that Alec, ironically, really cares about Taylor in this scene.
Yes.
And I think that's what's so interesting about this is even Shadowstalker's like, he's like, you messed with one of my teammates. And she's like, who did I mess with? She's like, tell me.
It's like Gru.
That's right.
Because that's what he says. He says, you fucked with one of my teammates.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we see, because the whole, nonchalant, very, whatever, this is the point where he gets a little emotional regarding his motivations. And I really do feel like, sure, like, yes, he doesn't want her to come after them, but I think, he's bored. It's all just excitement. So if she comes after him, it's another challenge. Like, he'll just take over her body again. Like, it's not a huge issue. But the fact of, like, if I can fuck you over for fucking over one of my people, like, it's a very, it's how protective he is towards Taylor is kind of nice, but in a way it doesn't feel warm and fuzzy. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh yeah, undersiders growing together, and like, oh, he cares about Taylor. It feels like a very selfish, controlling way. It's not it's not a you fucked with my teammate, and that's not okay because bullying is wrong. It's like, you fucked with my teammate. You fucked with, for lack of a better word, my current family, and no one fucks with my family but me. Kind of vibes. Like, he doesn't say that, and I don't think he even implies that, but that is the feeling that I get from that section. It's like,
yeah, definitely.
You don't get to have the power over my people. And that feels so controlling. And honestly, I just see Heartbreaker there. I just see his dad.
I was going to say, kind of, this is one of those moments where I think it shows, because there's big arguments in the community, like whether or not he and Sophia are sociopaths, and I think there's definitely an argument to be made, especially thinking about it for Sophia, at least afterwards, that she probably is a sociopath. But I really don't think Alec is. I think this is one of those moments that shows that Alec has an extra set of emotions there, and that he is just going about to do stuff. He doesn't have the tools to do it correctly. This is the only way he knows how to protect Taylor, as it were. I don't see that as possessive necessarily.
I might disagree with that. I think after this arc, I have a bit more compassion for Sophia, because you recognize, like, it seems like she's coming from a potentially very abusive home, which I think Alec even alludes to the fact that he kind of gets that in his own way. Whereas with Alec, I think it's not that I don't feel bad for him in the way that he's turned out, obviously, because it all has to go back to his crazy villain dad.
Yeah.
But I think Alec even admits, he's like, yeah, I think something's kind of broken inside of me. And I think that's what kind of gets me with Alec, is it's like, yeah, there's something off about you, bud.
Yeah.
The little flashback scene of him as a kid, with everyone in the house being afraid that their dad would have to come into the room, or from the maze and everything like that. Like, ooh, just brutal on so many levels.
I mean, the fact that he says, like, my dad did that and I didn't talk for a week.
Yeah.
For a week. Like, what?
I thought he said it was longer. I thought he said that I didn't talk for.
Maybe it was longer even. I don't know.
I thought it was like, I didn't talk till Christmas. Like,
maybe it was that. I'm not 100% sure. You could be right. But it was very much just one of those, like, what the heck kind of moments.
What the heck?
Yeah. No, they definitely got some issues.
Yeah. So I think, all that to say, though, I would say that for Alec, he is a sociopath, but obviously not by choice. For him, it's just the consequence of having somebody break you emotionally.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really important
Which is an
point.
Interesting parallel to Taylor, really, in terms of why they're with the Undersiders, because in a lot of ways they're similar, and maybe that's why Alec does care for Taylor a lot, even if he doesn't really show it, is because he sees a lot of similarities there, and just that there's comfort around when you're surrounded by people who don't know. Like, the reason Taylor doesn't talk about all of her bullying is because she doesn't want that to be part of her identity, right? So she's got the Undersiders; those are her friends now. She can be herself around them, And I think Alex in the same boat in a lot of ways. Like, this is his second family that he really cares more than his actual family.
Right.
That he gets to be himself around and not have to fear his dad or anything like that. They both kind of have very similar
actually
goals.
I think that right there cinches it for me as to me cementing my opinion on this. Alec has the ability to empathize with Taylor. And while I think sometimes he goes about showing it, hey, dork, don't do this, don't do that.
Classic teenager.
I think he really does empathize with the bullying, and he is in this case doing what Taylor probably wouldn't, but as he sees for her benefit. Like, there is an empathetic relationship going on between him and at least Taylor, if not other people. But Sophia really doesn't have empathy for anybody else. She likes Emma for the exclusive reason that Emma sucks up to her, and that's
kind of worships her in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
That's
think
fair.
she empathizes with Emma, but I think Alex has the ability to do that.
But I feel
and
like
I think that's what separates them.
I do feel like we see some of that though, like, because obviously we're not hearing it from Shadowstalker, but like when they're at the house and he's talking to the mom and like holding weapons up to the mother, and the siblings are in the hallway and we're feeling all these rushes of emotion. To me, it's not just anger at like, how dare you like talk to my family like that? It's that like the things that he's saying, she knows are going to have a lasting effect, and that she doesn't want that. And like,
Yeah.
and I don't, and it's hard because like, I do see where you're coming from, Alan, because it's very easy to see that as like, yes, she likes her status the way that it is, and she doesn't want that to change. So she could like be unhappy with what's happening just because it's like, don't fuck with my family. But
I think it's closer to that. Because I don't think she lives there. I'm pretty sure
it
that's
doesn't
just
seem like she does. No.
And I'm pretty sure part of her rules, like the whole juvie thing, is that she's not supposed to be there. Otherwise, she gets sent back to juvie. And I think that she's just upset that he's there in the first place, breaking those rules.
Interesting.
Maybe.
I don't think she really gives that much of a shit about her mom or her family, especially since, not that she would ever talk about them, but like, they really don't seem like they impact her life in any way. I think the big issue there is he's just violating her parole so that when she can't go back to the wards after doing this, after sending texts, like, there's no way she could ever go back because she's broken so many rules in one night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, on top of the fact that she's now liable, or she's, vulnerable to him possessing her at any point in time again.
Right. Yeah.
What's to say that he just parks in the parking lot outside the PRT building and then just gets her to hack everything?
Right.
So, like, I think she's just upset that, like, okay, so she got kicked out of the wards. Like, maybe she could broker a deal to be like, all right, I'm not useful here, but at least I can, I know I've got a bed, a bedroom.
Yeah.
And he goes ahead and burns that bridge too. Like, that was her access to her childhood bedroom, not necessarily her access to her mom and siblings.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, just another way that he's violating that space.
Yeah.
There's no
but
more
I
safe
also,
space for her.
I definitely hear the argument for the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the information we have, we don't know.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, my opinion of Alec has changed so much just in the past arc that like we still have so much more to go. Like, there's still so much more to learn about both of them. So I think you're right. I think it could be, the more information we get because of reading, the more, we'll figure it out. And
this is what we call a well-written character.
Yes. God, I love it. Again, tying back into the whole gray space of like, well, no one is truly bad or truly good. There's so much weird gray space in between. It's hard to label somebody as the villain or as the hero, which is just Wildbow nailing it once again.
Not to label a hero, but the next interlude, we have Dragon. So
my favorite hero. I love Dragon.
That was kind of a funny little transition, but I think we're good to move on. Any final thoughts on
No, that's
Alec?
fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready to talk
All right.
about Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Little
love that the interlude starts with her booting back up.
robot girl.
Ah, my AI girl.
Another really fun interlude. I love seeing the different ways in which Wildbow just flexes as a writer when
Yeah,
he's writing POVs. And Dragon's no exception here. Fun little sort of like binary style writing, getting everything booting up and immediately realizing that she is not really a she. she's an IT.
yeah. An AI system.
She is IT also.
She is. She
Yeah.
is. Exactly. She is. Oh God, it's such a bad joke. I hate it.
No, it's beautiful. We love it. We love it.
You love it. You know you like it, Jacob.
You know.
Yeah. But like, so Dragon's character, she is the product. She's considered the greatest tinker, but is the product of the greatest tinker,
Mhm.
who is no longer living.
Who's dead?
Yeah.
Gonzo.
And
Deadzo.
like, again, just talking about well-written characters, like her whole backstory went from non-existent to crazy in depth in like a
Yeah.
few thousand words. And just a fascinating backstory for a character. And I love that, at least at this point in the story, how, from what we know about her, really subverts the stereotypical evil robot
Mhm.
archetype that we see.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, we haven't, a lot of other stories do that as well, but it's just refreshing. I'm tired of evil robots.
Me too.
I love evil robots, but
I mean, we've
run
got
their
enough
course.
of them already.
Yeah,
There's plenty. Yeah.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
That was
And
or sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. Please finish.
I really wasn't. I was gonna just ramble for like half an hour on.
Please
evil
ramble.
robots.
No, please continue rambling. I like it when you ramble.
No, I'm always impressed when a writer can convincingly write that, because I think the foundation, like everyone expects the robot to be evil, like thanks to Terminator, pretty much. Like we just expect that. And I remember that was a big criticism of Interstellar, was everyone kept waiting for the point at which the robot was going to turn bad and just like wreck everything, and it never did. And it was almost to the point where people wished it had, because like it just felt like it was supposed to.
Right.
And you never get that feeling with Dragon, which I love. Like at no point am I like, oh, when are you turning evil? Please be bad. We got to take you down. Like,
Yeah.
No, she's the best.
Really fitting into that paladin good
Yeah,
stereotype.
Exactly.
So yeah. But she herself even references the whole like bad AI thing of like, well, this is why my, creator put restrictions on me, because of the whole like AI going bad thing, which I'm just like, oh, Dragon, like that's such a bummer. Like that, because she talks about how she just has a yearning to learn, to expand, to grow.
Yeah.
That like all she wants is to grow and to be more and to know more. And it's such a limitation that she's been able to find ways around things, but like befriending Colin and having, him and her work together on stuff, like that's really cool. But like that she has to resort to human intervention in order to grow as an AI and rely on, humanity in order to continue to create and function and exist, like, having these suits and whatnot. Like she can't build them herself. So like utilizing humanity, utilizing people. And I think that that's so cool. I think it's so cool.
No, it's great. And where she's based in Canada somewhere, right? Where is she?
Canada.
I think it's
Did
Canada.
you say Toronto?
Toronto. That's what it is.
Yeah.
As soon as you said it, yeah. Yeah, but, because we talked earlier about Newfoundland.
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 Also, all I can think of is like when she she has the Newfoundland accent that she's adopted.
So good. It's so
all
smart.
I can think of is, what is that accent? Because I've never heard a Newfoundland accent except for our boy from Shoresy.
I am 100% looking up Newfoundland accent.
He sounds like I don't know, like Canadian mixed with Irish.
It's like
yes, I was about to say it's very Irish.
Farmer.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm watching a video right now.
Irish.
Going on twofers and foofers.
Yep, exactly. Irish old timey like coal mine farmer voice.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, boys.
But as an AI, which
boys.
is hilarious.
I love the idea too that she could make a perfect voice, but she distorts it to make it be like, oh, you're distorting your voice because you're shy or because you don't want people to know who you are, and it makes people like, she has that kind of bit of humor in there where she's like, oh no, it's like just enough of a distraction. Yeah.
No,
it's just
it's not
enough
the
of a
worst
distraction.
I just put a video. I just put a video on the channel, you guys, so you have to watch it. It is this lovely old man in a beret with smoking a cigarette that was clearly filmed in like, I don't know, the 80s, the 70s maybe. And he's just talking in a Newfoundland accent, and it's the sweetest thing. And I am so much more in love with Dragon now because of it. Like oh god, I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
What I'm hearing is in our fan cast of Dissecting where the voice of Dragon is Sister Michael from Dairy Girls. Is that what I'm
yes,
oh my
please.
gosh, yes.
Is that what I'm getting?
Amazing. I love that. I love the weird subterfuge, the smart like little, because she even like Colin mentions at one point that like, oh yeah, I don't remember what it's called when you're afraid of leaving your house.
Agoraphobia.
Like, oh yeah, I guess your agoraphobia is like makes it really hard on you. And she's like, yeah, and I mean it's kind of true, sort of, but like. And it makes sense, after surviving an Endbringer attack and then leaving and being somewhere else. It's like, well, I went into my, apartment and I never came back out. Like one of the best hackers ever, and I never leave my house. And it works. Like it really does work. And it's not like we have to stretch to believe that would be a possibility. And yet here she is underneath all of it, pretending to be, human and disguising her voice. I love all the little things, the little steps that she does to seem more human, even to Colin.
And it turns out her biggest fear was opening up to let herself love.
For real. I love her so much. I love her.
Damn. She just smokes out Taylor so damn fast. Like,
what do you mean?
Oh, like she's like, Sophia. She was bullying a girl called Taylor.
Oh yeah.
How about that? How
Same
about that
build,
Taylor girl?
Same curly hair, glasses.
Yeah, I'm gonna just keep an eye on that. Yeah,
let's put a pin in that.
Yeah, we're gonna put a pin in that and watch her next time she shows up in civilian form. I'm like,
wow,
damn, Dragon.
I love it.
Well, it is one of those superhero tropes. It's like, damn, they put on glasses and nobody found out about them. It took Dragon all of, a minute to go, Sophia's bullying this girl. Like, she bullied probably really hard. And there's some trauma there. Let's look at this person. Oh, look, that person looks awfully a lot like that new villain that showed up not too long ago.
She was hospitalized. And then right after that, there was a new villain that looks exactly like her. Strange that.
Damn, how about that? Yeah. But she doesn't but also she doesn't rat her out.
No.
She just keeps tabs on her.
I love that. Because
she ain't no snitch.
Right. Well, I mean, it calls back to her interaction with Canary so much that she feels for Canary. She understands that this feels incredibly unfair for Canary to be in this situation. And I wrote a letter to someone important and to try and
Attorney
help
General.
you. And Yeah, attorney. Yeah, thank you.
You were close. Yeah.
I was close. The attorney general to help you out because I see that there's more here than just you're a villain or like you're being labeled as a villain. We need to exercise our control over villainy or whatever. And it's like, I'm just going to keep tabs on you and keep tabs on you and keep tabs on you. And it's very omniscient-y a little bit. I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of people she keeps tabs on. So we got Marquis and Lung.
Yeah. Marquis.
It's Marquis, and we all know this.
It is Marquis.
I did actually have a friend in elementary school named Marquise. So it's kind of
I love it.
Nick?
like immediately that's what I thought of. I was like, yeah. Marquise.
Hey, thanks for joining
I know
us
it's
on
Marquis.
on the Brockton Bay Book Club. We've got Hannah and Jacob and myself, Alan, and Michael. Thanks for being here. And nobody else.
So sassy. So
You
sassy.
do that intro.
Anyway, so our good Lord Marquisus.
Oh my God, Marquisi! You got a couple of a pair of Marquisis you wear.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Marquis and Lung. And a fun little reveal there with Bakuda.
Oh, yes. That was a fun reveal that I completely forgot about when rereading this.
Oh, yeah. Because we all assume she a dead doornail.
Yeah.
But it turns out she's just a vegetable.
She's only mostly dead.
Mostly dead.
Well,
so
I know that we know this
because
we've seen, we've read further, but she does say she's under the care of Glyciguane.
Yeah.
Glastigwenye?
Glastigwenye,
No.
sorry. Glastigwenye.
I was going to say, Bakuda's dead.
Yeah, no, she is. She's dead. She's dead.
I was say, y'all were confusing me. I'm like, no, she's not. She's dead.
No. She is. She's dead for sure.
Yeah, but like
she's still there.
Yeah,
it's
kind of.
Yeah. We'll come back. To
I think Dragon specifically says something like, though what she experiences, she's not sure she can call being alive anymore, or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty obvious. It's like, yeah, sounds pretty dead.
Yeah.
Less vegetable, more just dead. So,
but in as non-spoiler way as possible, it is a really sort of jarring sentence, especially for anyone who hasn't read the story, because it's really sort of, you do like a triple take. You're like, wait, what? Wait, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then the story just moves on. So it is a fun little tag that we're definitely going to have to come back to, and we shall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it took me so long to figure out how to pronounce that particular character's name. I think somebody said it correctly.
Glastigwenye.
Yeah. Man, I don't know how I was originally reading that.
Oh,
I think I was reading it like Glastigwenye.
Yeah. It's not an easy one to pronounce. That is for damn sure.
Yeah, it's whatever, some old Celtic or something.
Yeah. Actually, I'm very curious. So I'm gonna look it up. Or Michael, actually, if you could look up the origin of her name, that would be really cool. Because my
I believe it is Celtic. Yeah,
it is Celtic. Yeah.
So the Gleistig is a ghost from Scottish mythology, a type of Fuath. It is also known as the Maiden Winye, which stands for Green Maiden. So Winye probably means ghost. So green. Sorry. So she is the green ghost.
That's not as fun.
That's great.
I found a reference, someone who's Irish, and they say it's pronounced just as we said it, Glastic, and it's Uenye.
Uenya. Uenya. Something like that.
Uenya.
Well, she says it's Uenye. U as in noodle. Uenye.
Oh,
Glastic Uenye.
Uenya.
I was gonna say, I think if that's the same post I'm thinking of, I think that's how I had to figure out how to pronounce it correctly.
It's a Reddit post. And the girl's talking about how she's Irish and this is how you would pronounce it. And
someone gets Saoirse Ronan on the line. We need a breakdown of how to pronounce.
Apparently, the
crazy
Gleistig is a shapeshifter and can appear as a goat or as a woman from the waist up, with her lower half that of a goat.
I wonder if we have any interesting goat-associated powers to look forward to.
Hannah is like viciously jotting down cosplay notes right now, I can tell.
Your best bet.
We also, to wrap this up, not much left, but I did like the, we got a couple more things. We have Armmaster in his penthouse prison.
What a punishment he had.
Oh no.
Like,
retirement is so hard.
I know. At least he's doing what like Batman and all the other Tinker heroes never had the courage to do, which is like be fucking useful for the rest of society.
Yeah.
Like make shit for everybody else.
What are you gonna do? It's like, I'm gonna make this thing and then have it only be good for me. Which granted, Wildbow has an explanation for Tinker technology and its upkeep.
Yeah.
But in this case, they're like, yeah, we could throw this on all the PRT suits. It'll take a while, but then we'll have some PRT officers that can analyze villains and, counteract them. Like, dang. Imagine if Batman started helping out society like that.
Yeah. His whole floor of the PRT building. Wow. Swimming pool and a gym and just anywhere, just all the things. I'm salty about it.
I think really we all just wish that we could get paid to stay home and play with toys.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
We're all just insanely jealous of Colin.
I was going to say, this
the nerdiest
is
of us all.
Just jealousy.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Dragon does, say the implication of that, like, yeah, well, if you leave, you're going to the birdcage, which is, I think, is what Kat had said in one of her thoughts of like what she thinks was, her predictions. That's the word I'm looking for. In one of her predictions that Colin is in the birdcage. So like, if he fucks up, he's gonna be. So, but
he's got 1 foot in the cage.
He's got a foot. Yeah.
We also get the reveal that
I was about to say we gotta say it.
That Amy is Marquis' daughter.
Yeah.
Marquis' daughter, Panko Breadcrumbs.
Pancake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a bit of a drop.
Yep.
But to be fair, it's like being built to, right? Because we know very early on that Amy was adopted.
Right.
But we also don't know who Marquis is or what he did to get into the birdcage.
True. We just know that
all we know is that he's a bone boy. He uses.
I was about to say he does ask if she does something with bone, which is cool.
Yeah,
I love it. He's like a healer. Oh God.
Oh God. How far the apple has fallen from the tree.
Really,
I know.
Rolled downhill.
It's also interesting, like especially since it's like, what is he known for in this chapter? It's like, well, he fought Empire 88. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah. I love that reference to Allfather too, because we've talked a little bit, very, very briefly about Allfather before, that he was the leader of Empire 88 before Kaiser. And, he mentions like, well, I had beef with him and he, promised to repay me in kind in regards to, my daughter. And just want to make sure. And like, he hasn't known, which is interesting that like the only reason they know what's going on in the outside world is when new people enter the birdcage. And you're like, okay, well, what year is it again? Ah, yes. Okay, cool. And what's happened recently? Ah, yeah. Okay. So Allfather's been dead for years. Like, okay, which means he's been here for years. It's, I love the little context clues like that. It's so cool.
Yeah. Unlike, traditional prison where information can kind of flow in semi-regularly. There's like you get the impression that it is a dead zone. Like everybody in the birdcage has no idea what's going on in the outside world, which is kind of crazy. It's like,
love it.
Yeah.
If information is power, why would they need to know that? Like, oh yes, so an Endbringer just attacked Brockton Bay, and this has happened here, and this is the year, and like it limits them
exactly.
so much.
And because I mean, this is all speculation, but there's certainly some pretty powerful thinkers in the birdcage. There's got to be. So you imagine that part of that is a safety measure, right? So you don't want to give thinkers anything to work with if there's any sort of anything there. So it just makes sense that you give them as little as possible to make sure that everyone stays put.
Yeah.
And that about wraps up the arc. Any closing thoughts before we hit our routine bullet points?
No, fun arc. Definitely not one of the most memorable ones, but still very interesting.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think I probably enjoyed the interludes a lot more than I enjoyed the actual arc itself. But I still really I enjoyed the little group dynamics and whatnot. As the bitch Taylor interaction is so good.
These are the arcs that really make those later arcs hit.
Yeah,
because you don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff in those later arcs. You can just sort of get into it because we built the foundation. So I agree.
It's the setup again. It's the setup
exactly.
again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't remember liking Alec as much the first couple times I've read this, and I think this time around what changed is just this was a standout arc for him front to back.
For sure.
Well, it seems like you've started us off, Alan. Do you want to just quickly go around? Any favorite characters for the arc?
Favorite character, I think Alec this round, but favorite power is Imp.
Yeah,
sucker for the
fair.
strangers.
That's fair. Yeah, Imp gets maybe my vote as well. I did really like seeing Weld in action, really getting to flex a little bit. But we got a little bit of that in the last arc, so it's not really a new power. For pure new powers, Imp absolutely takes the cake.
I think Imp might be the only truly new power too. I mean, we see besides Alec revealing his body control and the tiny bit we get about what's his name, Marquis' bone powers. Besides those things, we don't really see that much. So it does feel like it really is the only new power, but it is a good one though.
It is.
It is a good
one. A lot of fun.
It's very funny. It's like the best possible take on the joke power of you're only invisible and people can't look at you. But it kind of is that in the best way, and I love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm a dragon girly through and through. I love Dragon. I love seeing her in the suit. I love her creepy little fetus baby. I love her her conversation with Taylor and her conversation with Colin and checking in on them. I love Dragon. And I love how her brain thinks. And I realize that she's an AI, so power is kind of a hard to define for her exactly because she's just AI. But I love how she kind of keeps an eye on everything all at once, and I love that. It's great.
So that does it for Arc 10. Thanks everybody for listening. It's been a fun one. Next episode is going to be the first half of Arc 11 because Arc 11 is massive. So the first 8 chapters, which are numbered 1 through 8, and then we'll do another episode on the back 8, which are lettered A through H. So next episode, 1 through 8, read that to follow along with us. And as always, please reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. We love engaging with everybody and talking about favorite characters, favorite powers, favorite moments, favorite arcs. There's so much to break down. We really can't fit it into these episodes, even as long as we go sometimes. So I know we'd all would love to continue these conversations elsewhere. And with all that being said, thanks to everyone for being here. And Michael, would you like to play us out?
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description. We have a very exciting announcement. We now have a voicemail, 980-999-0438. But you can call us, and your voicemail might be featured on one of our episodes.
Do you still have bitter feelings about your ex and no way to get it out? well, perhaps you could consider hiding it inside a worm-related rant. Tell us all about how Legend broke your heart, or just how Skitter won't call you back. We'll listen and air your grievances at 980-999-0438 on the podcast. That's right. Leave us a voicemail about your sad life at 980-999-0438.
What triggered you?